Welcome back, college baseball fans. We have another very special player guest. It is the catcher for the Florida State Seminoles, Jaxson West. Jaxson, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
So we're going to just jump right into it here. We're going to start a little bit with your summer. You had a quite the season up in the Cape. You actually got to get up there with teammate Alex Lodis, which I'm sure was nice to at least have a familiar face there. What was that experience like playing in the Cape, and how do you think your summer went?
It was fantastic. I think, it was always a dream of mine to go to the Cape, even since I was in high school. It was getting the opportunity to play college baseball and then being able to go up there and play. So it was everything that I expected it to be. The competition was great, especially getting to see people from all over the country, playing a lot of guys on the West Coast too was really neat, unique, different style of baseball. So that was really cool. I think I learned a lot, just from, asking questions and, just being a sponge. So it was so much fun. I was exhausted, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, playing baseball every day and all day every day, basically. Did you meet some new friends, obviously from around the country as well?
Yeah, no doubt. Had some guys on my team from Tennessee. Those some really good dudes. You're in the heat of the battle in June, but it's really cool to kind of talk about it with those guys. The experience that we all got to go through in Omaha, and really just picking each other's brains and just asking questions was really the probably the coolest and most neat thing that I experienced this summer was just learning and just hearing stuff from a different scope. Sometimes makes you a lot better player than you realize.
Absolutely. And now you're entering your second year at Florida State. You came over from Alabama. Can you talk a little bit about that transition going from Alabama to Florida State as you came into last season?
Yeah, I had a great experience at Alabama. I just needed a different opportunity, so I felt like it was perfect for me to come back home and wear the garnet and gold. I've always been a fan, so growing up here, so it was kind of a no-brainer for me. Last year was a special year, and it was more than I could have dreamed of. So I think it definitely gives me, more of a hunger to get back out there this year and kind of repeat what we did and hopefully accomplish the ultimate goal, which is a national championship.
Absolutely. And you were at Alabama with Max Williams, and you both opted to go to Florida State. You both had siblings that went to Florida State, I believe you're both Florida kids. Was that something that you guys discussed, or was that kind of like, oh, wow, we're both going together? I didn't realize that.
It was more of like, wow, we both were surprised that we both ended up there. Max was playing in the Northwoods, and I was up in the PGCBL league, so we were both really busy, kind of getting our at bats. We still kept in touch and stuff, and he committed before I did, and then kind of when he saw that I committed, he was like, well, we're not going anywhere yet. So it was definitely ironic, but it's good because it's great to have Max because he's such a talented player.
Absolutely. And, one of the things I wanted to mention was you guys are kind of transitioning into that leadership role. It feels like you, Max, Lodis, and Faroe were kind of the support guys last year. You were really important pieces, but it was about Tibbs and Cam Smith and Jaime Ferrer. What was it like playing with those three guys? And then how are you guys going to figure out how to become the leaders on this team?
It was special being around those guys, just seeing how they go about their work every day. Those three guys did a lot for this university. So it was really cool to, be groomed by those guys and then, kind of help them because the year before we got there, they had obviously one of the worst years that we've had. So it was really awesome to be able to come in and help, like you said, support those guys because those guys, bled garnet and gold. So to get them to where they wanted to be, which is Omaha, was really neat. And just seeing the passion and the energy those guys showed up with every day was really special. And yeah, I miss them already. I wish we could get those three guys back, but and Marco and all those other guys, but they're doing their thing in professional baseball, so we couldn't be happier for them.
Yeah, I was a little sad about Marco Dinges. I didn't realize he was draft eligible until like the draft, and I was like, oh, we're only getting 1 year of Marco.
Yeah.
So that was a little disappointing.
Yeah, me too. Believe me, me
Yeah.
too. One of the most electric bats I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's going to be a star. Let's talk about that Omaha experience. You're wearing the hat. It was my first year at Omaha too. Just being not just a fan, but covering it, and I want to hear your thoughts and how special it is, and obviously it's not overrated. Did it fit expectations or did it exceed expectations?
It absolutely exceeded expectations because, when we got off the bus and you have a police escort to the field, it's like, wow, this is a big deal. And I'm getting in the locker room and taping up, put my eye black on. I'm like, man, I can barely even find the energy to find the will to get out there because I'm so nervous. This is something I've been dreaming of and been working for my whole life. But like I'm about to walk out there, and when you walk out into TD Ameritrade, it's like, holy cow, it's like it's really it kind of takes you back. And I think I just had to put my headphones in and kind of lock in for a second because it was such a cool moment. And then you get on your phone after the game and you've got, I don't know, 500 notifications just from friends, family, people you haven't talked to in a while, just reaching out. And I just think it was the most unique and cool experience of my entire life, and something that I tried to relish as much as I could, because ever since I was a kid, watching them go to Omaha. I think it was in 11's last year. We played Arkansas. They had a great game against Arkansas. I was like, I really want to be there one day. So it was really cool, and something that's on the tip top of my coolest things in life for sure.
Yeah, and the crowds were really good all week long, but especially in the night games where you got to, on opening night of the tournament, is you guys got Tennessee, and that was a game for the ages. I think could have ultimately determined the national championship right there, because if it goes the other way, Florida State has a little bit more leeway to get to the national championship, whereas Tennessee, they come out on top. But what was that atmosphere like on that Friday night? And it was a back and forth ball game.
I really was so focused on trying to take care of what was at hand that you kind of almost tunnel out, and you just focus on, I was catching Jamie that night, so I was just focused on, containing his stuff because he has such electric stuff, and just focusing on having quality at bats. So I think there was a couple times I got back in the dugout and kind of got a sip of water and looked around and was like, wow, this is, incredible. But when you're in the moment like that and you're competing, you kind of, at least I do, lock in and just kind of push everything else away. And then you get on your phone and you come to realize there's literally millions of people watching, on TV. And it was something that, even though we lost, it was like, wow, this is pretty special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Overall, it was the coolest thing I've ever been a part of, for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people don't watch college baseball a year and then they tune in for the College World Series. But speaking of Jamie, I'm hearing he's looking even better, and that changeup has really come along. You're catching him a lot. What are you seeing out of him? Is he looking even better than last year? Which, again, hard to imagine, but
right. Yeah. Jamie goes about his work in such a special way. He's really grown up so much, just being around him every day. He's such a good teammate too, just a good dude. And, people always look at the talent of players, but they don't often wonder what guys are like, off the field. And he's an incredible player, and he's a smart guy too. He's really developed, it's special to catch him because his stuff's so good. And he was able to dominate last year with 2 pitches, and then I think they made it a point of emphasis for him to develop a 3rd pitch. So he flashed a changeup against Alabama, and it was electric. Upper 80s with that depth. When you already have a plus secondary offering and a slider, and then you have a fastball with that climb, it's really unique. And I think that was the separator for him. If he can dial that 3rd pitch in like he has been and continue to work on that pitch and, polish it, that's the difference between him being a top 10 pick and, biasly the 1st pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I actually asked I asked a question of Alex Lodis last week or 2 weeks ago. His interview with his cousin came out last night, but I asked him what it's like facing Jamie in practice every day, and his face was just kind of defeated. I was like, that's brutal. But at least things get easier from there because you won't have to face him in games.
Right.
But what were the vibes coming into fall practice, and how are you guys feeling? You guys feeling like, I know there's been a lot of turnover, new faces, but vibes have got to be really high with the guys you've got coming back and the guys that you've brought in.
Yeah, for sure. Every time you step into a locker room in the fall, this being my 3rd one, it's definitely awkward at first, not in a positive way, because everybody's trying to get used to each other, and develop, relationships. So the guys have done a really good job of spending time together off and on the field. And I think we have a great group of guys in terms of personality. It's hard sometimes to be content with where you're at as a team, because the team we had last year was so special in terms of on the field and off the field. We, had such a amazing group of guys that were old and mature, but also fun to be around. I'm really happy with where we're at, especially, in terms of pitching. I think that we have a lot of depth. And that was something we struggled with last year was, when we got deep in the pen, we had a couple of really good arms, but how deep could we go? You know what I mean? And that was like a separator for us in Omaha. It was, we could bang it with anybody, but, when we get into games 3, 4, and 5, what do we have left back there? And I think that's what, the coach did a really good job this summer of attacking. So I'm really pleased with that, especially getting to catch it every day. We have a lot of different looks and a lot of really good quality pitches from each and every guy. So I think I'm really happy with that. And the offense has kind of taken a different identity this year, because I don't know how many home runs we had, probably 130 or 40 last year. So it's crazy to think about that. But we definitely won't bang as many this year. But, with Coach Jarrett being, in my opinion, the best coach in the country in terms of the way he coaches and, gets us ready and prepared for games, it's second to none. So, we'll definitely have a different perspective of offense, but I think it'll be as electric and different areas for sure.
Yeah, and again, a lot of these new faces, thankfully you guys have a beat reporter that is really good about making sure the information gets out there. I've seen a lot of great video from some new guys. Is there anybody who stood out? I mean, they've all been impressive, but is there anybody that's especially stood out to you and surprised you?
Well, I've been playing with Gage Harrelson since I was about 15 or 16 years old in travel ball, and he's as advertised. The coaching staff asked me about him. And I said, "Man, you're gonna get a guy that plays harder than anybody and competes, and really cares about winning." I've never seen somebody play as hard as he does. As much fire as he does. So he's had a fantastic fall. He's been on the ball against all of our arms. Had quality at bats, and he's really done a great job of taking, just those at bats we need at the top of the lineup. And, he runs great routes in the outfield. He's a plus runner. So I've been really happy with him. I think Chase Williams, is a spark plug too. He had a slow start to the fall, but I knew that it was going to come around. He's such a fun guy to be around, and he's a goofball, but in the best way possible. But when he gets on that field, he turns into an absolute dog, and it's really fun to watch. I think he had a ground ball against Alabama. Guy bobbled it, picked it up, and he beat it out. And must have been, a sub 4 down the line from the left-handed box, which is really impressive. So, those two guys immediately stand out to me. But, Bladen Plains showed a lot of power. I've played with Bladen just as long as I have with Gage. So, those are all guys that really want to win, which at the end of the day is more important to me than anything else, because I want guys in our locker room that build that culture of competing every day. So.
Yeah, and another new guy, a couple of freshmen. One of them, I imagine that you're pretty busy mentoring as well, even though you're in your draft eligible year. He's looked pretty special. Hunter Carnes, can you talk a little bit about him and how he's adjusted to the college game?
Well, so far it seems like there hasn't been much adjusting, because he's such a mature guy at a young age. And I'll get this straight. Hunter's the best dude, I think we have in our locker room in terms of just humble, quiet, goes about his work every day. And, you think at positions when you're competing against the guy that it would be weird, but it's the exact opposite with our whole core. Nate Somalia is the same way. It's so fun to be with those guys every day. And, we make each other better every single day, pushing each other to be better. And I love the chemistry that we have so far. Hunter's a special player, and, he's really developed a lot. On the defensive side, obviously coming in, turning down money out of the draft, it was the bat, but really the gloves came along, which is really great to see, because, I'm happy for him. I think he's a draft eligible sophomore, so he's going to probably only be here 2 years, I'm afraid, for the coaches. But, he has the most backside power I've ever seen out of a bat. It's just flick of the wrist juice, and his at-bats have gotten better and better and better this fall. And, he was way ahead of I was mature-wise, in college. And I think that being a college catcher as a freshman is the hardest thing probably in college baseball to do, besides being a weekend starter probably as a freshman. But being able to manage the game and control big quality arms and just have those at-bats even when you're playing defense, he's done a really good job of it. And he's really receptive of information too. So he's a really humble kid, and, I couldn't be happier to have him as my teammate.
Yeah, and then the Miles Bailey as well. I mean, I've seen him hit some absolute lasers. I mean, it's extremely impressive. But shifting gears a little bit, you kind of started to really feel comfortable and break out in the towards the end of the season and in the postseason, and is there anything in particular that you're looking to improve upon in fall camp? I'm hearing that you've gained a little bit of weight and you're, you made some adjustments to your swing, looking to tap into more power.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that was the point of emphasis for me. Last year, with as much pop as we had, my goal was just to get on base and have quality at bats. So I was down there kind of lurking in the 9-hole, just trying to flip the lineup for guys. I lost a lot of weight during the season last year, just from the exhaustion of catching every day. So I put on about 30 pounds. Just been really working hard in the weight room. Definitely made some changes in my swing. Last year, I was kind of a no stride guy, really spread out, but now I'm kind of lifting my leg up a little bit. So I've been working really hard on that. Those two things have been the most important thing to me as far as a player. And then managing the game behind the plate's always top of the list for me too, just controlling a pitching staff. But yeah, I think trying to hit for more power this year. Definitely get my my A swings off and A counts is what we kind of talk about. I'd rather be 0-1 in the count than 0 for 1. I'd rather take a quality swing. So yeah, I put on a lot of weight. I feel really good right now. It's been a long fall, but I'm really happy with where I'm at so far. I'm not satisfied, but just gonna try to show more power this year for sure.
Was a lot of that work done between you getting back to campus after Cape Cod, or
it was actually it really I hit the ground running as soon as Omaha was over. I went home for about 2 or 3 days and then drove up to the Cape. I had a fantastic host dad, which was actually Cam Smith's host dad the year before I got there. And he was feeding me like crazy. So I think I ate, in Hyannis, which is in terms of food is the best place in the Cape, but I probably ate like Subway and Chipotle probably 4 or 5 times a week, just doing anything I can to put weight on. So yeah, I started then. I got there at about 170, so I'm sitting around 200 right now. So it started then. So it's been about 3 or 4 month process.
Okay, that makes. I was sitting there. I was thinking. I was like, I watched him in Cape, and I don't know if I noticed he was gaining any weight, but I was thinking 30 pounds in a couple of months might be a little bit scary. So it's a little bit longer.
Yeah, especially with the fall. As much as we're moving around, it's been quality weight. We've been working really hard in the weight room, so I'm not just sitting on my tail getting fat. Definitely.
Oh, right. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, I knew it was going to be good weight, not. Right. But what excites you the most about the team as you guys kind of wrap up the fall?
Man, I think I just got to go back to the pitching. I think it's gonna make me feel a lot better, especially as a catcher, because those are the guys that they can make your career as a catcher. There's so many guys that have caught so long in the big leagues just managing staffs, but really just feeling comfortable with whoever comes in out of the pen. Like whoever Coach Jarrett pulls out, you have confidence in that guy to come in and execute at least 1 to 2 pitches and get us out of some tight games. And especially as a guy that hits, it takes pressure off me personally and the whole offense when you have a deep staff back there. When we played North Carolina last year, they were just rolling guys out of the pen. They had a great, you knew they had a great pen last year. Can't remember the guy. They had a left-hander that was really good. Obviously, Mathagis or whatever. I'm not sure how you say his name. They were really deep. So hopefully we can be like that this year. And that was definitely not a comfortable feeling as a hitter when they just kept rolling out quality arms like that. So yeah, I think just the offense and the defense have looked really good, but specifically the pitching is what I'm really, really encouraged about.
Yeah, it's hard for to get a really quality pitching staff. So the teams that do tend to end up in that Omaha area, like North Carolina did. And so another team that's like that was NC State's bullpen. Guys would drop with injury, and they just put somebody else coming up. So it'll be really cool to see that kind of flip for you guys, because again, I've looked at the arms and I'm like, man, there's a lot of quality here, especially some of the guys make that freshman to sophomore year jump. Like somebody like John Abraham comes to mind. He had a really good summer.
Yeah, he did.
So really excited to see the pitching. Let's jump into some more fun stuff here. What's your welcome to college moment?
Oh, this is a good one. So my second ever collegiate start was a Friday night against LSU, and guess who was on the bump? Paul Skeens. Yeah, that's I'm pretty biased, but I don't think there's a better welcome to college moment than that right there. Yeah, he punched me out in 3 pitches my first at bat.
Yeah. Did you see what pitches did you see on that first at
I
bat?
saw 3 straight fastballs.
I was gonna say, I bet he didn't. Yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
even bother with the others. Yep, I
Yeah.
figured that's what it was gonna be. 3 straight. He was painting,
Yeah.
with the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, which to me, I mean, like you see guys throw really hard in college, but they never have that kind of command. And yeah, that is a really good welcome to. Yeah, you're like, I'm in college now. This is not fair.
Yeah. Out, and I was just like, I was literally looking at my bat to find a hole in it because I just couldn't that I didn't hit it.
That's fantastic. No matter what, you'll always have that moment. What is your Mount Rushmore of catchers?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think Pudge Rodriguez is the best defender of all time. My godfather actually played with him for the Rangers, and he said that like because he played third and he would throw down to third, and it was like his palm was blue. He just had the most arm strength he's ever seen. Obviously, Pudge, Yachty. I'd have to go with Johnny Bench and probably Yogi Berra is my 4.
Wow, leaving off the Florida State legend Buster Posey.
Yeah, I forgot about Buster. Let's throw Buster in there too. Let's make a 5th.
I was sitting there. I was like, we can make it 5. Mount Rushmore 5. There you go. I was sitting there. I was like, he's going to start with Buster Posey because of Florida State. And then I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, no, but if he won't, but if he does see this, he's up there for me.
Hey, don't doubt my audience. No.
Yeah, he slipped my mind. He slipped my mind. Nothing personal, I promise.
Let's talk a little bit about superlatives with who's the team class clown?
Oh my gosh. I think it's like a 2-way tie probably between Max and myself. Guys that are just probably more comfortable in their own skin. You know what I mean? Jamie gets in there too, but it's all fun. You know what I mean? Because we're all so close. So it's just fun to be around each other. And you're seeing it slowly. Guys are coming out of their shells. Gage Harrelson's a really funny guy to be around. Hudson Rowan's a goofball too. So Cam Leiter's a really funny guy. So there's a ton, but which is really unique because we don't have a lot of weird guys on our team. Everybody's pretty funny. So I think everybody kind of chips in and gives their own part in terms of that.
Yeah, you just reminded me watching Cam Leiter. I got to watch a couple of guys trying to stay loose in Omaha, trying to bounce the ball onto the step.
Mm-hmm.
And Cam Leiter was one of the main guys trying to do that. And then McGuire Holbrook came over and got it first try and then walked back away. And they were all really angry about it.
I mean, the shenanigans that go on in the dugouts, like you don't notice it when you're playing, but like you'll hear about it after the game. You're just like, what are you guys doing? On the biggest stage. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to see the behind the curtain kind of stuff like that. And,
no doubt.
And that Cam was able to still go to Omaha despite everything that was going on.
He's the best dude. He's the best dude ever.
How about a glue guy? Who's holding who's a glue guy? Kind of sounds like Gage Harrelson might be one of those, the way you described him, the way he plays.
Mm-hmm. In terms of like competitiveness, I think Gage Harrelson for sure, kind of brings everybody together. Cam Leiter is the guy, even though, he's dealt with his injuries. He's such a good leader and especially to the younger arms. For me, I think that Cam, because I see the stuff that Cam does behind the scenes, because he's not a guy that goes and flaunts it in front of people. Like I'll be walking in the facility to hit, and he's down there talking about pitch shaping with a younger guy, and I'm just like, that's incredible. You know what I mean? It's super humble guy and extremely talented. You know what I mean? He's definitely up there for me as well. He just does such a good job of going about his business too. So he does. Jamie does a great job too. Connor Holtz is a really good glue guy too. I think we got a lot of guys, but those guys off the top of my head are 4 guys that, aren't afraid to speak up for what's right, and definitely, kind of bring guys out of their comfort zone and keep guys meshed together.
Yeah, something I noticed about Cam during the ACC tournament when he still obviously wasn't pitching is it seemed like it was killing him not to pitch, so he had to have like little jobs to do.
Yeah.
Because I saw at one game he was doing the pitch chart, another game which I never see guys of his caliber doing, but he was doing the balls to the umpire and that, and I was like, that is not something you normally see your ace doing.
No, not just that. I think that alone goes to show that everything I just said is true. You know what I mean? Like just like the way he treats everybody is the exact same, and that that's a guy that's going to make a lot of money playing this game, and the fact that he can run balls out to the umpire says a lot about his character, and that he's a humble dude. That that even the lowest of lows isn't too much for him, or too little for him. I'm sorry, is what I should say. But that's what he's all about right there.
Absolutely. All right, and the last one in terms of superlatives, who's the team leader? And I'm imagining there's a bunch of you guys because just shifting from last year into this year.
I mean, I don't think there's a definitive one yet. Last year it was definitely Cam Smith and we had Tibbs, and then Connor Whitaker was a leader.
Yeah.
There's no definitive guy yet, but I'm really happy to see that a lot of the guys that are specifically in my class, the juniors, have done a really good job of taking care of their business and kind of leading by example more than being vocal. So I think it's more of a group effort, in my opinion, right now at this moment. Just kind of the younger guys looking to the guys that have been in the fire, going to Omaha and stuff. So it's definitely a group effort, I would say, instead of an individual.
What's your dream job outside of baseball? We're planning on you having a very long baseball career.
Yeah.
But after that,
I think, probably medical sales. I want to do something that, I'll be taken care of for sure. I'm working towards that right now. So probably medical sales. My dad was a scout for probably 20 years. So I'd love to scout, I love baseball, but he doesn't want me to. He said it's a tough life at first. It's a grind. You're on the road all the time doing that. But, I'd love to coach college baseball too, but, it's just such a grind. A lot of our coaching, like our guys on our staff, are just now getting to where they're wanting to be. Coach Jarrett was at a bunch of schools before this. Coach McGahee was too, and Micah was at DBU, right, which is a great school, but right before he came back home. So I think that's definitely a long process. But any of those things, I'd be super content. But I want to stay around the game. So if I did medical sales, I'd want to be with that. Find a way to tie it in with athletics, hopefully. But ideally, I would love to play in the big leagues and then coach. And just be a coach and work with hitters and catchers.
Yep, and that's the plan. Big leagues at some point, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
What's the local food joint in Tallahassee that you're hitting up? I know you mentioned some of the chains like Subway and Chipotle for when you were up in the Cape, but what's the local food staple to get your protein?
The two places that I've gone to the most ever since I could drive in Tallahassee was Gordo's and Cush's. Cush's is a Cajun restaurant, and then Gordo's is actually Cuban. So different ends of the spectrum probably, but those two are my absolute nonstop two favorite spots. My parents have been taking me there since I was in diapers, I think. So those two spots are, if you come to town, definitely try Gordo's or Cush's.
Absolutely. Do you switch up the order, or is it
Nope.
Do you have the usual? What's the usual at those two places?
Gordo's, I get the chicken Philly with no onions or peppers and fries, and then at Cush's, I get the shrimp po' boy with just shrimp and cheese, grilled shrimp and cheese.
Oh, that's
gotta be good. Seafood gumbo on the side.
Oof. So you're not an onion and pepper guy on your Philly, huh?
No.
Me neither. I get it. I just want that meat and cheese. Give me the good stuff.
Keep it simple. Yeah,
absolutely.
But it's funny. I'm glad you asked me that because I take pride in having those two orders off the top of my head.
That is good. Yeah, I was like, yes. Yeah. I saw your excitement. You're like, no, I have one order. All right, there we go. What's your pregame ritual? Do you have one?
Yeah, I stick to the same routine in terms of mobility and stuff for my hips. And then I usually, as soon as we get done with our scouting report, I throw the headphones in, and then it's kind of probably an unknown thing. I don't really talk to anybody. Just kind of get locked in and switching from, being just kind of a jovial guy to it's time to go. You know what I mean? It's time to compete and play hard and play angry. Whatever you have to do to get to that mode it takes. So I usually throw the headphones in, and I'll do my catching routine with Coach Vanderglass. Brad, he's the best. We do our warm-up routine and catch off the machine usually. So that's what I do pretty much every time, is put the headphones in, get the body warmed up, and then get the hands loose on the machine, and it's go time from there.
Absolutely. Sounds, just locking in mentally, going from the the laid back fun person to the competitive killer, right?
No doubt.
Got two more quick rapid fire questions. Who's the toughest pitcher you faced in the ACC last year?
Oof. Oh man, that's a really good question. I'm trying to think of who we played that really stuck out to me. There was the left-hander that I mentioned from North Carolina had
Dalton Pence.
Really good stuff. Yeah, he had really plus stuff. And then I actually didn't face him, but Aiden Knack from Clemson, the guys kept coming back to the dugout and just would not stop talking about how good his changeup was. So in terms of that, I heard they were raving about him, and then it sounds bad, I can't remember off the top of my head, but the Friday night guy from Pitt last year had
Ryan Andrade, who managed to outduel Jamie Arnold that night.
That night he had absolutely electric stuff. When you ask me that, it's a great question. Obviously, put me on the spot, so I can't think off the top of my head. But that's what stuck out to me in terms of like what I remember was his stuff that night was really, really good.
Yeah, what's interesting, I think Aiden Canuck said his welcome to college moment was Tibbs hitting a home run off him. So it's interesting that like he had some of the best stuff against you guys, but then also got touched up a little bit by Tibbs.
Yeah. I can't believe I forgot to mention him. Burns for sure. Okay. I forgot about Wake Forest, but Burns and Massey, those two guys were really good in terms of the way they could manipulate their fastball. I think I was a guy that didn't chase a lot last year, but I swung it like 102 over my head, just trying to get the head out on a fastball. And it started, I swear it started at my belt and somehow it ended up over my head. So with Burns, but those two guys, really incredible stuff too.
Yeah, it's not gonna be too long before Burns is in the big leagues. No. He had some pitches that were MLB ready, and just going to Wake Forest and what they do with their pitching staff was really impressive.
Sure.
All right, last one, ACC ballpark. Your favorite one besides your own?
I hated it because of how good their fans were in terms of being into the game. But one of the coolest parks we played at last year was Clemson for me. I loved the atmosphere there. But as a visiting guy, you hate it because you're like, man, they're just on you the whole game. But they do a great job there. That place is really cool. I think that the stands in the back behind the outfield wall is really cool. I'm a big advocate for that. I think it just adds a different atmosphere to it. So definitely Clemson off the top of my head. My favorite city was Boston for sure, but best field was definitely Clemson. They have a great setup there.
Is there anywhere you're looking forward to go in this year in your schedule?
Yeah, Notre Dame. I'm excited to go to Notre Dame just because of the campus and how beautiful it is. And then the trip I'm most excited about is we're going to Cal. So that's going to be really cool to play in California. I played some of their guys in the Cape. They had really good players. Just playing on the West Coast, you know what I mean? It's always the thing between East Coast and West Coast guys. So it's exciting to go out there and compete and kind of show what the East Coast is about.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. But that's all I've got for you. You've been awesome, Jaxson. I really appreciate it. You're welcome on the show anytime. Do you have any final thoughts before I wrap this up for the audience?
I appreciate you taking the time to have me. It means a lot, and looking forward to this year.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for us in this episode, and you can catch us in our next interview in a couple of days, but this is likely the last player interview for a while. We are moving on to some assistant coaches, and you can tune in every Tuesday and Thursday for that, and go Seminoles.